Welcome to this Wise Women Roundtable. We're going to be looking at the month of March, and we just have completed the wild month of February and the looking at the maybe just as wild or wilder month of March, depending on how you want to look at that. And there are so many things going on, and um, the reminder of being willing to not be attached to how things are turning out. So you may make plans this month and they may or may not turn out in the way that you were planning for them to turn out. And in fact, if you're willing to just be accepting of what's unfolding, it may turn out better than you could imagine. More likely will turn out better than you can even imagine. So this is partly due to all of the Uranian aspects that are taking place. And I'm going to leave that for probably for you, Nalini, to talk a little bit more about. But just that this is we're headed towards the Uranus-Jupiter conjunction in Taurus, something that hasn't happened in 84 years. So this is like helping to build the energy toward that happening in April. I think it's April 20th or something that takes place exact. But we're starting this month with Chiron and the North Node still very close together. They're within about a degree as we start the month, and then by the end of the month they'll be within a couple of degrees, about 2.5 degrees or so as we end the month. So that energy is still very, very present. I know we talked about this last time. I also did a video that goes into greater detail that I'll put in the show notes. So I won't spend a lot of time talking about it, but there is an Mercury Chiron conjunction on March 20th connected to the equinox. And so, of course, March is always when we have the equinox. And this year, for many time zones, it'll be on the 19th, others it'll be on the 20th. And as I've shared in the past and feel inspired to share also again, is that this is a time when there is more uh, cracks in the magnetosphere of the Earth. So more light comes in. And so it tends to bring in more like the northern lights or the southern lights or the aurora borealis or however you want to describe it becomes more. And the magnetosphere of the Earth, that what surrounds the Earth, is designed to protect us from solar storms. And then but there are certain times when there's these cracks that happen within that magnetosphere, and then more light comes in. And so with this happening around the equinox, it's a time that we can use that light energy, tune into that light energy with our intentions and attention to see what it is that we're wanting to manifest and bring forth at this time. And the other thing that happens at the equinox, and I always love this reminder because I don't always think about it, but as the sun is rising, galactic center is directly overhead. Wherever you are on the planet. So because that's because it's the Earth turning, not actually the planets turning around us. So just so something to get. So this whole entire month, a little bit after sunrise, I think, as we begin the month, but right at the equinox, it's as the sun is rising, galactic center is directly overhead. And the reason this is so amazing and worth our attention, and as we are creating our intentions around the equinox, is that they have done studies and found that whenever the galactic center is overhead, not just at the equinox, but anytime, it'll be overhead at different times of the year, people's psychic and intuitive abilities increase significantly. And they've done studies, and they weren't sure why this was happening, and then they finally figured it out that it was a galactic center overhead. So that's pretty cool. Anyway, I share more about that in a video I did on the March equinox, which will also be in the show notes if you want to know more about that. And it'll also have a link to the article with the times that the galactic center would be overhead. But if you can tune into it within an hour on either side of the exact point, you can still access that energy, and it can help you with your own ability to intuit what's going on for you, to see what's going on for you, how you want to take steps or what things you would like to do or commit to. Because if we look at the 0 degrees Aries point, when the sun reaches 0 degrees Aries, and then we'll be in Aries for the next 30 days, Aries is the archetypal energy that's about making a commitment to a cause, a purpose, an intention, whatever it is, making a commitment and then taking action to fulfill that, to make sure that commitment or that cause or that intention can manifest. Because if we don't take the action to do that, Aries knows this very well, it may just stay in the realm of a great idea or a great intention or a great sense of, oh yeah, I want to accomplish this thing, but it doesn't happen. We need to take the action for that to happen. So the equinox is a really powerful time for us to not only have our intentions, but also to take action, take some sort of action that will help to further and mean that intention can manifest, or that commitment can manifest. And on March 20th, at the equinox, Mercury is going to be conjunct Chiron. And so the messenger, Mercury the messenger, Chiron the shamanic healer, and also Chiron still very close to the North Node, but all in Aries. So really heightening this energy and also the messages that may be coming in for us about what it is that we perhaps still have left to heal within ourselves, so that it's not holding us back, it's not tripping us up, it's not the thing that, the fear or the unconscious ways of seeing things or being affected by things aren't going to be so unconscious. They become more conscious, and with that consciousness, then we can transmute and transform them so they become a gift, become our medicine, become the thing that help us to move. Now, I'm going to wrap this up here in a moment, but the last thing I wanted to talk about is that on March 25th, there is a penumbral lunar eclipse, and that's opening the eclipse window that will complete with the total solar eclipse going across the United States on April 8th. So we're opening that eclipse portal, that eclipse cauldron, that eclipse energy. And what's fascinating about this full moon is it's at 5 degrees Libra, within about 20 minutes of a star called Zenaya in the constellation of the Priestess. So the full moon in Libra, but in the constellation of the Priestess, because the seasonal signs are different than the constellations. And over time, every season is with every constellation. And Zenaya is a star that it's on the wing of the Priestess. And she was the Hierodule. Now, the Hierodule was the name of a high priestess. That was one of the ways that it was referred to. And I think it's in the Sacred Prostitute book that I'm trying to think of the woman's name who wrote it, but it's escaping me right now. But anyway, it became the harlot, the whore, when they were diminishing the feminine centuries, eons ago. So it became a word that wasn't seen as of a high vibrational nature. But when we tune into the star and we tune into the essence of the priestess, the Hierodule, the one who is in a place of mastery, having reached a place of mastery, we can tune into that to help us with our intentions around how we're doing relationship with ourselves, how we're doing relationship with each other, and how whoever we're in relationship with, that we can once again see each other as equal in the value that we bring. We may not be equal in what we bring because we have different things. Everybody has different things they bring, but be equal in the value that we bring to any kind of collaboration, co-creation, cooperation, in the ways that healthy, vibrant relationship can work to help us create a better world for ourselves and each other. So that's what the eclipse is going to kind of energize and bring forth, so people can tune into it from that perspective. So with that said, I'm going to turn this over to Sarah and just say that I love, love, love what you're going to share, because it is, I've experienced so many people having challenges in this area. It's going to be so helpful. So thank you.
Thank you, Caitlin. And thank you for reminding us all of the kind of wild nature of now and ongoing as well. I was just hearing you talking about the next eclipse season. I was thinking, didn't we just have the other one last week? It kind of feels as if I'm still getting over the last one. So yeah, so what I would like to share today, I feel as if I'm kind of going to be channeling Dr. Batch a little bit. Dr. Batch is one of the big the people who brought back the world and the ability to help ourselves with flower essences. He's been in spirit now for quite a long time, but one of Dr. Batch's, if you go into any of the Batch Foundation websites or books, one of the things that they've always upheld, and I actually really respect them for this, is that Dr. Batch wanted everybody to be able to self-treat with flower essences. And he said, I want it to be like, if I'm hungry, I'm going to go and get some lettuce from the garden. If I'm scared, I'm going to go and get some mimulus. And he wanted it to be something that everybody could use easily. And it's one of the beautiful things that now the Batch remedies are literally available pretty much everywhere. The world of flower and vibrational essences is huge now, and there are many, many, many ranges. And it's part of what I do is to help people understand that and use them. However, what I'm going to share is based on a direct personal experience, but also many of my clients and many of the people who I teach flower essences to, or they are part of my work, are reporting similar things. So I think it's really, really worth knowing. So what I would like to invite everybody to do, if it feels good, if you have a bottle of what's called Rescue Remedy, it's the Batch. It's 5 flowers. Anywhere in your house, go find it and make sure you know where it is. Maybe put it in your handbag, your pocket, or kitchen table. Maybe have different bottles of it. We certainly do. There are different ranges also have rescue remedies. They're not called rescue remedies because rescue remedy is a trademark name. What I'm seeing is the one to use right now is Rescue Remedy. Quite why that is, I don't actually know, but it's just very potent. And with all the wildness that's going on, there's some very stressful, intense experiences that people are meeting. And I have seen in front of my very eyes a drop of Rescue Remedy completely taking someone from panic to calm again and again and again and again. And I have a house full of all different essences, but the one that worked was the Rescue Remedy. And when I tried to use other things, the patient was like, that's not working the same as the other one. I want the other one. And it was Rescue Remedy. So, and then I was just very humbled by seeing this. I was like, wow, is it that simple? And yes, I think it is that simple at the moment. Maybe in a year's time, we may be in a different space, who knows? And then I started to hear, without me saying anything, I started hearing the same thing being said in my circles, that Rescue Remedy was doing amazing things, really, really helping people, turning situations around. And although we would never say, and we can't say that flower essences would try to save your life or any way, I'm seeing that sort of frequency of something turning from like really hard and really don't know what to do and really not sure where this is going to, oh, actually, I'm okay. I can do this. I can deal with it. I know what to do. Completely different situation. So, yeah, so I hope that helps people to see that, just go to your local pharmacy and just ask them for a bottle of Rescue Remedy. You'll be able to find one, or you can get them online as well. That it's an amazing, amazing changer of our ability to deal with difficult situations. So,
Can you
yeah,
tell us how you recommend people take it?
sure. So, well, because we're probably dealing with an intense situation where you haven't really got time to think about things like that. This isn't a bottle of rescue remedy because I don't actually have one in my office, but it looks a bit like this. You're literally just going to, when you buy it in a pharmacy or online, you're going to get what's called stock, and that's the normal way to buy it. So that's usually 50% alcohol, usually brandy, and 50% of the essence, the mother tincture, which is what this is as well. So probably the easiest thing to do is just this. Just put some in your mouth. If you don't, it's going to be a very strong taste. So for some people, it's like, oh, I don't really like that. But you know, if you're in a fix, you don't really care what goes in your mouth. You know, we just my thing was just take it. So if it's an emergency situation, that is how you would do it. Dr. Batch spoke about, and there are many, many stories actually documented. Let's say someone's had an accident or someone's unconscious or something like that. If you can get rescue remedy somewhere on their skin or on their lips, something like that, it literally, obviously we can't guarantee anything like this, but it can really help people, bring people back to consciousness. Or gosh, I feel a bit uncomfortable saying these things because I probably shouldn't be saying them, but you know, there are many, many stories of these kinds of things happening, is that in somehow it takes the stress, even if the person is not very conscious, takes the stress out of their bodies, and therefore their energy systems are able to deal with, and therefore the physical can come back on board more easily. So if somebody can't administer it for themselves, just do whatever you need, but touching the skin. I'm not saying miracles are going to happen here necessarily, but it can. It's always worth a try. And at the moment, it seems to be doing amazing things. And I have not seen that before. And I've not heard other people talk about it quite so much. If you're in a less acute situation, you can just take it. A practitioner would tell you to get yourself a dosage bottle, which looks a bit like that. It's bigger usually, but actually it doesn't really matter because we're talking about a vibrational way of treating somebody. One drop is the same as 5 drops because it's a vibration. A person may prefer something stronger or not so strong. That would be more of a personal preference, but actually you're taking in a frequency. So the amount of drops, in my opinion, somebody else might tell you something different. But um, so what you could do is give yourself a bottle a little bit like that. We say 30 mils. I think you say an ounce. Do you say that in the States? You talk about an ounce. We talk about 30 mils. But anyway, a bottle, it doesn't really matter. And you're going to put a little bit of preservative at the bottom or not. If you don't put anything in, it might grow a little bit of bacteria if it's hot or if the energy is a bit weird around you. And then what I would do, let's say that's your bottle of rescue remedy, little tiny bit of brandy or vodka or something like that. I'd put 2 drops of that in it and fill it up with water. And so this bottle could last you a lifetime. And that will cost you about, I'm going to say $10, £10, €10, you know, like nothing, probably less. I've just made that figure up because I don't actually even know how much it does cost. So you can dilute it right down, or if that's far too difficult, you can just get a glass of water and just put a drop in water. There we go. It's super simple. You can put a drop in your bath. You can put a drop. We talk about it as the bowl method. So again, super simple. Get a bowl of water or a cup of water and place it somewhere in the room or in a room where the people involved are passing through, and put a drop of rescue remedy or another remedy. And it has an extraordinary, it's a bit like air conditioning. all of a sudden people start behaving differently. So if somebody wasn't well, you could put that in their bedroom or in the room that they were in. You can put it in misters and clear your energy system. You can do a million things with it, and it can make a huge, huge, huge difference to what happens next. You're very welcome. I'm happy to be able to pass something so simple on, so simple. So with that, Nalini, I pass
Hello.
to you.
Thank you, Sarah, for the reminder. I think I have rescue remedy all over the house, and had I remembered that, I would have swum in it for the last week. I think just the process that I've been noticing with the people I work with, within myself, my own body, is that we are being, I'm going to use the forced word because that's kind of what Gaia's passage is doing with our bodies, because we're traveling with her, is to let go of, well, release, because we'll talk about let go in a minute, but release our probably unconscious, generally assumed to be true filters that our bodies tell us this is why we hold on to this, whatever this might be. And what I've been noticing with myself and others is it has to do with pain. And I'm not talking about the pain body vis-a-vis Eckhart's definition necessarily, because I think every time we make a fixed position like that, we're creating a limitation. Now, limits confine and contain our incarnations. When they turn into limitations, that's what's being ground into dust right now. And the process that I've seen is, why do we hold on to fill in the blank pain? And if we think of the physical symptom, this is not a blame the victim thing. This is not, oh, we did not have an accident that caused a physical sensation. It has to do with nothing of that. It has to do with the accumulated, we could say wounding, it has to do with the Chiron alignment, but the accumulated debris of, well, if I hold on to this, it does two things. One, it entitles me to feel wounded, even if I would deny that consciously until I was dead. Two, it entitles me to act out, lash out, be angry, express those states of vibration and being that are generally considered to be not okay. And that's, for each of us, it's different. So what's being sort of ground up into safety glass at this point is everything that we hold, usually unconsciously, within our physical bodies, emotional bodies, a little bit the mental, but this is a deep dive. It's below the subconscious, to where, what are we holding that we're unaware of generally, that has certain levels of entitlement that have to do with the root chakra, that have to do with survival, safety, security. And we may have, I know it's that case for me, is we may have, you could say, fought against it or denied it, but it's like said no to that. No, I'm going to live at this level, not that level. Well, our bodies are of Gaia, they are of the earth, and they hold things that we might not agree with until, and you think I'm going to say let go, don't you? Until we let them go. But the truth is, until we let all of those vibrations be. What I'm noticing about this passage that we're in, whether it's March or 2024 or however long this change takes, and that will vary according to each being, is it's letting it be what it is. Let that vibration be what it is. And then the surprise comes when that vibration isn't what we thought it was. It's not all that painful or angry or bad or wrong or any of those stupid judgments we make. It's just a vibration. And the reason that tinctures, in my experience, my personal experience, like Rescue Remedy, which is wondrous, I agree, the reason they work is because it creates a state shift vibrationally. in the body that says, this isn't how you're acting it out. This isn't how it's pretending to be. It's not to say someone isn't ill or someone isn't in pain. We're not saying any of that. It's just, this is a vibrational shift. And what if you didn't need to do this? What if you didn't need to let it go? Because right now, when we do that, it lands back in our face. The turbulence is such that when we say, okay, I'm letting go, I'm hitting the delete button, which is really, really old cycle, but we're doing that, it's going to go splat. And that's because these things are there to grab our attention for just that nanoblip, just that moment, so we can let it be what it is. And what we think it is, like, oh, that's fury, I can't entertain that. Well, okay, fair enough. But what if it wasn't? What if it's something else where when we let the energy be, it just goes and shifts into something else? And we need those energies because we need all that we are to go through this passage. And we're so fixed in our mental rivulets and currents and waves, and we call them positions, that we don't want to see that. We don't want to, oh, that's not what I thought it was. Well, nothing is what we think it is. We don't know anything. So it's like letting nature's way, letting nature's principles, letting what is galactically at the quantum level, however, be what they are within us. And just watch, use the observer function, watch, and then everything shifts. Everything shifts. So I really appreciate the reminder about the rescue remedy, and I appreciate the acknowledgement of Uranus. Uranus this month, every single week there are Uranus alignments. And that brings up, that is, they say Uranus is the great awakener. It's one of that planet's names. It's like a lightning bolt that quickens, that initiates, and that brings light in a very explosive, sometimes eruptive way to a particular position so that it can be seen for what it is as much as we can. And then the energies move on. Gaia is in constant motion. The celestial bodies are in constant motion. We're the only ones who think we stand still. So it's letting all of that come through and letting whatever happens or doesn't this month, the more we project on something happening, the more it will. Just letting it be, letting ourselves be, and observing what that truly is. It's a great game. It's actually really fun. It's really fun to be wrong. It's really fun to say, oh, wow, I never saw that way. Duh. And just let source be what she is. Because we kind of don't have a choice at the moment. So it's just going with that, letting the wave take us, being supported and nurtured and nourished by it, instead of fighting to stay on the board. So anyway, that's my 2 cents for the month of March. So Elizabeth.
Thank you. Oh gosh. And I love all the processes, and I'm also seeing the being piece. And I like to look at the I am presence, that presence that's our soul, which is source light, and how these alignments these days are forcing up in many of the sessions I'm looking at too, in my own processes, forcing up the genetic lineages to be cleared. And the genetic lineage can kind of be seen in an interesting metaphor that might be helpful, because the soul's light is undistorted. And when you are living on this school called Earth, part of the lesson that we are here to learn is how to be in the I am presence, that soul's light, and let it be offered to the world undistorted. And we have to be in these bodies that have quite a lot of trauma trash bags and a whole bunch of really nice antiques that our ancestors left behind as well. And we get to go through our personal stuff in order to get to know really specific emotional traumas, mental traumas, programming, cultural conditioning, and really own the personal experience. But then a lot of the time, we'll come up against this sort of wall of stuff that is beyond us, that we can't necessarily tie to a memory of our own. And this is not a trap. It's not a brick wall. It's not what it seems. And I think that this month is going to be much like that. But the wall that we end up looking at is actually our genetic lineage trauma. And it's a graduation in healing, because that means now, with all of your knowledge about those particular emotional issues, you're going to be able to orchestrate large swaths of clearing of your genetic lineage. And you can do one of two things with this. You can be very systematic, and I'm a total nerd, so I went and dug up a whole lot of ancient history about Scotch Irish and the Basque and the Dutch, and was like, what did all my ancestors really go through? And I'd write out these, complex polarities of stuff that they'd gone through and worked at it that way. Or, because that can be a fun game, or you could just let whatever needs to be seen show up, but know that you'll be amazed at how so many of your personal stuff was actually exactly like what was going on in your lineage, because your light is being shown through this big stained glass window of the stories of all these people before you. And it's like a big Batman sign out into the world that says, come and get me. Or I've got victim written on my forehead, or whatever we're holding on to this deep beyond unconscious, like Nalini's pointing out. It's really deep. And it's not necessarily always yours. It is absolutely going to influence, however, what shows up in your life. But if you're willing to recognize those stories and let them be, let those stories exist, appreciate them, then you know what emotional energies are in there because you've experienced a lot of them. A lot of the time, it's almost like 95% of the stuff you went through was actually related to your genetic trauma, but that other people went through too. And it's because your soul's light got shown out into the world with that Batman sign calling forth the same experiences. If we let those stories be, then we get to receive the grace, the light that's in them. Because if we're afraid of them, if we hate them, if we dislike them, if we want to clear, I don't want to deal with that. I don't want to look at it. I don't want to deal with how painful it is. Then we're not going to be able to actually receive the power back from the wisdom of these frequencies, because that's all they are. All the stories are frequencies. Now, when you are letting your soul's light beam out into the world, that means that all your relationships change too. Because then the people around you can't have relationships with the same energy and the same person, because you're not. Now you're more you, you're more source, the source that moves through you. And with that, I think that reveals more. It reveals more of your own wounding, and it draws better relationships, which also can actually reveal more wounding when you're being loved. It's pretty amazing that you can see more about where you're at. Now, I guess the other last piece I would just look at as sort of an idea of how we can play this game together a little bit easier is to not stop stilling your mind. The best way to sync up with the grand movements of the electromagnetic field disappearing on top of more cracks, on top of galactic center and equinox and all these wonderful alignments that will continue to ramp up, we have all this incredible galactic light coming in. Of course, we're in the age of Aquarius. It's pouring on to us this celestial information, and light is frequency. Frequency is form. And that's going to lift up different layers of attachment. And the first layer, I think, of basic attachment is material stuff, and then relationship stuff, attachment to our children, attachment to our pets and our friends, and certain ways of being, attachment to certain schedules even. And then there's the layer of attachment around outcomes, which is harder because we want to look forward into the future. In fact, we're sort of trained to, and we leak energy that way. Just like we leak energy thinking about the past too much and worrying about these things that we can't change, like the Dalai Lama said, if you can't change it, great. And if you can, great. Or something like that. That quote's off, but you get the idea. But then there's a whole another piece to attachment. Maybe we call it an advanced piece, an advanced letting go of attachment to who you are, to your identity, to all of what you thought you were, so that you can be. And to really own that, to let it grow into your body and move and flow, you need to meditate. And then you're going to start releasing form, because form is in its own way of holding on. And we're in a time of formlessness. And everywhere you put your attention, change occurs. Nothing can truly fully change unless you're willing to put your attention on it without fear or desire. And if you put fear and desire, then you're going to have expectation and control and all these pieces that create resistance. And then you're hanging on to stuff that you're not going to be able to move forward beyond. So I think that formlessness is ultimately the name of the game as we move very swiftly towards our solstice. And who knows what solstice will bring? I'm sure we'll be able to discover more. But for now, use your attention to be able to view your whole life and let it begin to change. Don't have expectations about how it's going to go or attachments to what you want, because you yourself are not a conglomeration of the stories of your ancestors. You are source. And if you're willing to not perceive with attachment, desire, or fear, then this month is going to be really interesting and exciting for you. So I'm working on it too. Thank you, ladies, so much. Really excellent view of our month.
Thank you, everyone. Hope this was helpful. We look forward to our next video, and I'm loving this idea of being. How are we allowing ourselves to be? So that's a takeaway for me from what we've just talked about. So bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.